All right. Well, hello, and welcome everyone to our BG5 Live. Really great to have each and every one of you here with us today. Today is March 1st. Can you believe it is already March? It is March 1st, 2022. This is episode number 145. And today we're going to be taking a look at two traits. So today we're going to be taking a look at trait 37 in quality 6. We're also going to be taking a look at trait 63. So what we're going to be exploring is a family of friends doubting the future. So that's what we're going to be taking a look at today. With things going on in the world, we are, in a sense, a family of friends doubting the future. So we'll be taking a look at that today. So before we get started, let's say hello to our panel. Let's start with Anna. Hello, Anna. Welcome.
Hi everybody. Glad you're here. I'm glad to be here.
Great to have you here. Welcome. And let's go to Shelley. Hey, Shelley, welcome.
Hello, everybody. Great to be here too.
Great to have you. Welcome. And Linda.
Hey, yeah, happy to be here and happy to have you all here listening. And this feels like a family of friends. And we will see what there is to doubt for. So, yeah.
Exactly. And again, welcome to everyone who is live in our Zoom room. Again, if you're live in our Zoom room, we do invite you, if you have one of these traits or you know someone or have experience with one of these traits and would love to share, we would love to hear from you as well. And also those of you in Facebook, feel free to type in the comments. And again, welcome to everyone who's listening via the recording. So let's jump in and get started. We're in a brand new month. So we have a brand new theme. So March is the emotional doubt and openness that leads to crisis, returning us to our innocence to gain new opinions of control. So you can see that when we're taking a look at the 37 is about friendship. It's about family, and it's ready to embrace the outsider. So it's one of the things we're going to be talking about today. We're also going to be talking about doubt as well. And doubt is the future, the future is dependent upon certainty and the validity of the patterns. So it's good to doubt, right? Not sure if the patterns are correct. So that's what we'll be exploring today. Just to get a sense overall of what March is about, it's also about openness. This is the emotions that condition how receptive others will be to change, right? So this is about listening to how receptive people are to that individual mutation, that individual change. Then we have crisis. We have crisis in the 36. This is the rule of cycles in which decline is natural, but not an enduring stage. We also have innocence in the 25. This is triumph and survival, enrich the spirit and result in the wonder of being. We also have opinions in the 17, visually fixed on patterns and protecting us into the future. And we also have control as well, the justified and necessary use of power to overcome interference. So you can see we have quite a few traits that we're taking a look at here in March. So you can see that March is really jam-packed. We're still taking a look at purpose fulfilled through the mind. And again, what we're going to be taking a look at is the 63 in inspiration, which is what's going to be happening throughout this week. And also we're wrapping up the 37, which is tribal, which is all about family and friendship. So that's what we're going to be taking a look at. Now, before we dive in, one of the things that I also wanted to point out, and just to make you aware, again, this is like a weather report. And what's always very, very important is that you follow your decision-making strategy. So just being aware of what's happening now, what's happening in the world, what's happening sort of in the background. This is really a month of collective crisis and revolution, which we've been starting to see in the world as well. So here's just a couple of dates to pay attention to. So again, we are going to be taking a look at crisis this month as well. And again, these are approximate dates. Check your time zone because it could be a date the day before, the day later, depending on where you are on the planet. So March 7th, What is hidden moves into trait 36 of crisis for 3 years, right? So what's hidden and the crisis is going to be there, if you will, as part of the background for the next 3 years. So just something to be aware of. March 13th through 18th, that's when the core essence is moves into crisis. So something to pay attention to. It's really fascinating to take a look at past history. When COVID was announced a couple years ago, it was right around March 13th. I think that's when there was the Emergency Act, and when it was announced, about COVID in the beginning of March of 2020, right around this same time when it moved into the 36 of crisis. March 24 through 26, we have communication. Communication happens to be in crisis between March 24th and March 26th. We also have March 31st, where the driving force is in crisis. So we can see these different layers. When we take a look at the other aspect as well, one of the things with principles and revolution, that is also starting tomorrow, March 2nd, and for the rest of the year within judge and discipline, we're going to see principles and revolution also throughout this year. March 27th through the 31st, principles revolution is in the maturing energy, and on March 28th, it's also in the driving force as well. So just something to be aware of, pay attention to. Also realize that on the other side of crisis is also opportunity as well. So one of the things, throughout this month, who knows what's going to happen? I don't know. However, just recognize that it is part of what's happening in the background frequency. It's there to keep us awake and alert. Again, that's why you really want to follow your decision-making strategy during this month and all the time, but really paying attention to it this month especially. I don't know, Linda or Anna or Shelley, if there's anything that you would like to add here. Again, this is just, like I said, just take it as a weather forecast. If you know it's going to snow, you know that you need to bring a warm coat and bundle up. So here, if we know that there's crisis and revolution afoot, again, also making sure that we're prepared for that as well. So anything from Linda or Anna or Shelley?
I was just noticing Sarah has a question first. I wondered if you wanted to, she's wanting to understand what
yes.
core essence, communication, driving force mean.
Curious what driving force, core essence, and maturing energy, exactly what does that mean? So what happens is, this is the language that we use in BG5 so that we can really kind of get where this particular aspect is going to show up. What we take a look at in BG5 is we focus on what the conscious core essence is for the day. This is kind of like the overarching theme. So the overarching theme, for example, is the core essence between the 13th and the 18th is the core essence. When we take a look at what's hidden, this is, in a sense, the kind of the veil that we can't really see exactly what's happening, but we can sense it, we can feel it, and we can see it in retrospect. Communication, I think, is pretty clear. The driving force is, in a sense, what moves us forward. So instead of using any of the planetary words, if you will, we in BG5, we really take a look at what does that mean, as opposed to saying, for example, the sun. Which is the core essence, if that makes sense. I hope that helps. Yeah, so it kind of gives you in sort of what area of life, what aspect of life is the crisis going to show up in, or the revolution going to show up in. Yeah, and maturing energy is one of those things that matures over time. So it can be, the maturing energy is kind of like a, the younger son, if you will, that, it takes time to mature, and, at first is full of energy and all over the place, and then it matures then over time. So I hope that helps. Yeah. All right. Any other questions? So again, just be aware. Also, we do invite you to join us next week on Thursday, March 10th. We do have the environmental shift as well that's happening. Currently, we're in the environment of power skills as well as contribution. There's going to be a shift in the environment to breakthrough and assimilation. What does all of that mean? Come join us on Thursday, March 10th. And this also is a year-long mini course of navigating through 2022 and recognizing those environmental shifts. So we're going to be talking more about how do we recognize those things within the environment, and also taking a look back to see how the power skills and contribution has had an effect on us during the first part of this year, and what potentially it's going to look like as we shift into the environment of the 4323, which is breakthrough and assimilation. All right, so let's jump in. Let's take a look at today's theme. So to start with, we're going to take a look at trait 37. So this is where we've been in the last week. This is families, this is friends, this is ready to embrace the outsider. So when we take a look at the 37, this is the power to hold a family or a business or a group or a community together, and holding it together with warmth, with friendliness, with this nurturing nature, right? So the ready to embrace the outside is also welcoming people into the community as well. And not only welcoming them in, but holding the family and the friendships together. This is also about making an emotional connection with others, and again, welcoming the newcomers into the community. And it's based on the bargain. And there's a mutually agreed upon bargain, which is very important when we're talking about community. This is often where the bonds and the bargains happen within the tribal circuitry. So creating those bargains become very important here. And especially if you have the 37, one of the things that you'll see that's very interesting with the 37, we can see it here, that on the other side of the 37 is the 40, which grounds the 37. And it also creates this definition here. It creates the definition of the community of the 3740. So you're seeking loyalty, and you're looking for a promise of loyalty in return. Again, it's very tribal. And it's the transpersonal expression of potential sensitivity of revolution. And again, it's that ratcheting up tribal wave. So if we take a look at the flow, here we have the 49, which is of principles of revolution that flows through the 37. So that's why there's this potential of sensitivity to revolution if people's needs aren't being met. Ultimately, the 19, which it pressurizes the 49. So again, this is also the tribal wave, and the tribal wave is a wave that ratchets up, ratchets up, ratchets up, ratchets up, and then explodes and resets, right? So just being aware of that as well. And this is creating a social environment centered around food and gathering and preparing food for a group. So again, it's really bringing people together as a community and creating that very social environment. Now, I know Anna and Shelley, you both have the 37. You also have the 40 as well. So both of you have this entire strength. So I would love to hear from Shelley and Anna how you see, or how this 37 shows up in your design, especially having the strength of the 3740 that we see here.
I'll go. I love my 37. I love the whole strength. But it's interesting to me in perspective of my life progression, especially before I knew about human design, BG5, decision-making strategy, all of the basic stuff that we're talking about. I come from a long line of farmers and educators. And so early on in my life, we had a little family garden. And that was the sort of the big aha. I think I was 8 or something. My dad was digging a little garden plot. I thought that was just the coolest thing. And now I realize partly why, because it was all, he was introducing us to good food, good activity, sharing food, all of that stuff. And it's, to me, and you can see that it's in my nodes, which is a life path to connect with people about. But to me, I always loved the celebration part of gathering food, growing, preparing, storing, all of that, because it literally not only grounds into the 40, but it literally is earth. It grounds us to the planet. It grounds us to basic nurturing with each other. And when we get to a little bit more information, it's about touch and about sensitivity and about connecting, and not just physical touch, but touching each other's worlds. And the way, you know, when you think about cultures, culture is often defined by the foods and the flavors and the preparation and all of that. So this is a pretty fundamental part of community.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. Beautiful example, Anna. And I'm curious for you, Shelley, how does it show up for you?
Yeah, it's wonderful. Actually, it's interesting, Anna. I have it also in my past and future directions, but mine's on the unconscious side and opposite direction from yours. So I started with the 37, and the first half of my life was really prominent. It's unconscious for me too. So I just found myself doing this. I didn't realize, I wasn't really aware it was happening, but strong bonds and connection to family and friends. And as I went out on my own as a young adult, tapping into a huge group of friends with my husband, and we just carried on building family, gathering more people into our tribe, and you know, gathering lone friends or people that didn't have support around them. And it was always me preparing huge meals for at least 16 people coming over at a time. Usually 16 to 20 was our average. And my husband's got the 40 as well. So the two of us would be prepping and cooking, and he'd be entertaining while I'd be prepping, and we'd both cook. But so this was really huge, especially in the first half of my life. In the second half of my life, after age 40, I'm moving more towards the 40, which is more about being alone and enjoying the fruits of my labor, recuperating, regenerating. And so it's been really interesting to watch that transition happen. And COVID kind of made a really marked shift for us that, you know, that has become our lifestyle now, is just being more in the 40 than the 37. But what I also wanted to mention is what stood out for me as you were going through this is just how much this has shown up in the world in this last week. Well, this has been the background of all the people fleeing the Ukraine and being welcomed into other communities and other countries, welcoming them into their community. I know that even here locally in Victoria, the Ukrainian organizations, the Friendship Center, has been just making Ukrainian meals, and people have been coming down to support the Ukrainians by just by being there as part of the group, and you know, buying the food and helping support the cause. So I really saw this playing out in this week. We've seen it playing out, you know, the ratcheting up of the sensitivity of the revolution and people needing to flee and find somewhere else to go to be safe. So I think it's been beautiful to see how quickly that's happened and how quickly people were able to organize that to bring people into the community.
Yeah.
And support them.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And this is what we've seen over the last week, that we're in quality 6 now. So this has really been the theme of this last week. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Shelley. And Linda, I know you have the 40, but you don't have the 37 on the other side. What's your recognition of the 37?
Yeah, I was really feeling the influence last week because normally I'm not that kind of a family person, but last week I have seen my family a lot. I even had my little niece of 5 years old. She was staying with me, and my aunt was also staying with us. So it was one family gathering. And yeah, that is also what because I have the 40, I sometimes feel alone. And I feel like I'm not able to create that warm group of friends. I am also always a little bit jealous about people that have a large group of friends and they spend lots of time together. But at the same time, I also feel like, that's not really what I like. So I'm always kind of in it's a duality kind
Right.
of feel. So I want to belong, but I also don't want to belong because I have a lot of individuality and also sharing in my design. So support, I don't have that a lot in my design. So it's always kind of finding a balance. But my husband, he has the complete strength. So when people come in, he immediately jumps up and he starts serving people. What do you want to drink? They are not even in the house and he's already asking it. So, and then I feel, come. No, you have to be a good host and you have to serve people and you have to make them feel comfortable. And he's just feeding everyone lots of food. And I said, calm down. No, you have to do. Okay. So it's really interesting to see how that plays out. But I can really appreciate the warmth that you can feel with this trait and to belong somewhere. But I personally can sometimes also feel that it confines me, like it's really restricting me. I want also to do other things and not to visit certain persons every week. Like I also have to do other things. And what I also notice is that because the ratcheting up wave is connected, that when something happens, when it comes to family or friends, then there's a trigger.
Mm.
And it can really make the emotional wave catch up or calm down. So that is also what I really notice, that I don't notice it, but I can see with people that have this trait that are really sensitive to what other people also our friends are doing. And if they are not keeping up to the bargain, they really get disappointed.
Yeah. And that's usually when there's the explosion. If something with the bargain is not being fulfilled, is where where the wave can crash. Exactly.
I'd like to add another piece to listening to what you just said, Linda. I can relate actually because I have the 40 and I grew up very independent. And yet always had this background of family, cousins. We had reunions all the time, that kind of thing. But I was always going off on my own. Maybe that's my type, but it was a balance between those two things. But a point I wanted to make is in the 37, when we're talking about BG5 and especially business groups, small businesses, a lot of times the successful businesses talk about being a family. We're a family. We're, even though, you might be from 5 different countries over Zoom, you're still a group. That family sensibility is really what bonds us. And in a successful business, your particular team or your business or whatever is often the group that you spend the most time with, and the success of a small group really is in this family bond and upgrading, you know, the bargains all the time, upgrading the agreements. You know, what project are we on? When do we need to deliver? You know, how long do we have? That kind of stuff is all about the agreed upon bargain, not only in a family, but in a business as well.
Yes, exactly. And both in large and small business, because one of the things we talk about in OC16 is really creating the environment that we're a family with a future, is how the business moves forward successfully without tensions. So yeah, beautiful example. Thank you for pointing that out, Anna. And going along with what Linda was just talking about, if we take a look at how you're affected when you're connected, this is the shadow of trait 37, and Linda spoke to it a little bit already. And when you don't have trait 37, so it can be lacking a community to offer your work and your provisions. So, you know, this guy sitting here with just by himself with no one else around. So part of having trait 40, as Linda was speaking to earlier, part of trait 40 is aloneness, and aloneness working for the community. So the question is, do you have a lot to give, but no one to deliver your gifts to? Or do you feel like your work is not appreciated? Or do you feel like your needs are not being met? Right? Because, you know, you have all of this to give, but part of the bargain is this deliverance, which is 40, being able to deliver to the community so that through the community, you also have what your needs taken care of as well. So the problem is that you find yourself searching for a community or friendships to offer your hard work and provisions to. So you find fulfillment in delivering what you promised to an appreciative tribe, to an appreciative group, into a appreciative group of individuals, whether it be family or friends or coworkers. So you're willing to do the work, but you need others who will appreciate your work to maintain their side of the bargain. So the solution is that you're designed to work with and create bargains with others to get your needs met in return. So I'm wondering, Linda, how this applies to you, if you recognize yourself, or do you recognize this particular shadow as well?
Yep. I also don't have any quality 4 in my design. So that means that I'm not really influential in my network. So yes, what I for a long time I have felt, now I understand because I know my design and I know BG5, I have really felt lonely and felt like, am I not kind enough? Am I not, don't people like me? Because my husband, he has the 4, he's a 2-4, and he has the 37-40. So everyone is just, well, he's not that social always, but he can just be really social. And sometimes I feel like I'm antisocial. And then I really can feel like, oh my goodness, I really have to do something about my social skills. I have to find a group of people that I want to work with, but when I do so, I'm really not feeling fulfillment. So what I now have learned is that through my decision-making strategy, people will show up that I really bond with in a natural way, and they refer me to other people, and then I just bond because I'm here to work with strangers. And they just introduce me to other people, and then I feel I can have a deep connection, but then I also move on. And then in the meantime, I have kind of a network of people that I know and that I work with, but it's all based on more of an individual feel. It's like, okay, we really connect, but there is no bargain because I'm not tribal. Kind of the 40 is, but it's one of my few traits that I have in support. But I really like to, okay, well, I make appointments with them. Okay, if someone that you know is going to work with me, I will give you some discount, or I will give you some money. That's what I do, but it's also really based on, yeah, that you feel an emotional bond with another person, but it's not necessarily a group. And I was always thinking, okay, I need to be in a group, but when I enter a group, I feel overwhelmed, like, oh my goodness, what do I have to do with all those people?
Right, right. And
Yeah.
I think what you just shared, Linda, is a brilliant example of really, when you understand your design, again, you can make yourself wrong for not always being in a community, or not feeling as connected with people, and wondering, like, what's wrong with me? Realizing and recognizing how you're designed really allows you to relax into being you, and not make those areas of your design and how you operate, and to not make them wrong. And I think that was just a really beautiful example of illustrating that, Linda. Thank you so much.
Can I
Yeah.
add another thing?
Yeah.
In just what Linda was saying, to me, the key word here is appreciation. Because when you're appreciated, you feel like you belong. And when you're not appreciated, you feel like the outsider. And one of the things about the 40 is there's an organic process of maturing, of individuating, going off by yourself in some way, away from that community or away from that family. You move out into the world, and you're not dissociating yourself from that community. You still belong in some way or another, but you have to go off. It's lonely, I agree, but it's not meant to stay lonely. When you're following your decision-making strategy, you always find people that you connect with. So I just wanted to make that distinction, because when I first heard about 40, I thought, oh, great, I'm doomed to aloneness. But that's not really what that is. You can be alone, you can be lonely, but you can belong to yourself and the community, and you might need to come and go. And as an innovator, I really needed to come and go, because I couldn't be in the community all the time. I'd freak out.
Right.
But to be able to go out and then bring something back into the community, even if it's like 5 minutes, oh, hi, whatever. But that's an important part, I think, of the understanding the 40 is the aloneness is not, a shadow part can be isolation, but you're not meant to be alone. Aloneness is more of a process of integrating yourself and choosing whether to be in a community or a family at a given time.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful point, Anna.
Mm.
And one of the things about both the 37 and the 40, they're part of this era of planning that we're currently in, that we're also moving out of as well. So it's just kind of an interesting side note there as well. Yeah, Shelley.
I just wanted to add to what Anna and Linda have been saying. I think for me, the 40 became really much more apparent because I felt the shift of it after age 40. And I literally did sort of break away from my family and go off on my own and did my own exploring. And I needed to. I relished the time alone. I relished being able to have time to myself and to, like Anna was talking about, integrate in my, it's almost like a contemplation state of being able to go and have the time to yourself where there's nobody demanding time from you, or that you don't need to feed everybody and take care of everybody right now. You can have some time to yourself. So after spending the whole first half of my life looking after everyone else, I really looked forward to having that time on my own to recuperate, regenerate, and then, like you said, come back and touch in with the community again in a different way. And I too feel it, Linda. I really enjoy my alone time now. And I love connecting even more when I do, because I don't do it as frequently as I used to. So it's about that, finding that balance, like you said, that work-life balance of what's the balance between nurturing yourself and nurturing others,
Yeah.
being part of the group.
Exactly. And you can see these traits are opposite, right? Being alone and being in community. And ultimately it is finding that balance. Yeah, beautifully said. And if we take a look at today's quality, again, we are in quality 6, and quality 6 is always the leader, it's the role model, and it's about purpose. And it's the energy to maintain the family is enhanced by recognizing its value. And so the elevation is the possibility of extending friendships through the appreciation of value. This is like having friendships that are and feel like family. So it's the gift of not only recognizing the inner meaning of the family, but the appreciation for its values, right? So again, we're going back to what you were pointing out earlier, Anna, that appreciation. The challenge is the need for diversity that, despite appreciation, would prefer casual friendships, and the need for diversity that may ignore the achievements of the family in favor of withdrawal. So again, kind of what we've been discussing as well, we can see that show up also in the quality if we take a look at this purpose. Anything, Linda or Anna or Shelley, that you would like to add?
I was going to add, in terms of the 6, we all know that our families have expectations of us, and we have expectations of everybody in the family, and that can be a lot of pressure sometimes. And, it's okay to break some of those agreements about who you're supposed to be, in the family, and change your position. That's part of changing the bargain. And I think it's a really hard thing sometimes to break a bargain in a family, long-standing bargain, for better or worse. It doesn't matter what that is, but they can be solid and held in place. And it's usually some rebel or some, characteristic that challenges the purpose, the value that you're holding in the family. And that is one of the values, is it's important to kind of update and upgrade. And, one person might be the rebellious one that year. And then especially if there's kids in the family, they're always challenging the bargain, and that can be a good thing, but it is a natural part of a family, even a collective of kins that aren't blood related, holding your family together, appreciating both the connections and the diversity is what keeps another level of that bargain in place.
Yeah, beautifully said, Anna. Yes, Linda.
Yeah, what comes to mind when I read this is, because I don't have the 37, I can find wisdom in what I also shared earlier, and what also Shelley and Anna echoed and emphasized with their wisdom. What I really have embraced is that I value my connections deeply. So I feel like the purpose of family and friendship is to have a deep bond. I rather have 1 or 2 good friends with me all my life than being stuck with my family on an island for the rest of my life. I don't really connect with my family on both sides, nor my mother's or nor my father's side, but I feel that I have deep connections with people that I know and call my friends, and that's of true value. That's how I feel. It's that you feel what is the value. It's not only being together, but it's feeling the connection as a human being to a human being.
Yeah.
And that is much more, for me, more deep and has more depth than the blood bond.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. This is for me the wisdom that I can get from trait 37.
Yeah. Yep. Beautifully said, Linda. Yeah. So this is the quality 6. And we'll take a look quickly at the celebrity, and then we'll also take a look at the trait to be paying attention to in this upcoming week. So the celebrity, the life work theme, we have Ron Howard. He has a trait 37 in quality 6, and the life work theme is migration. When the unifying project or experience is complete, you look for greener pastures to conquer the next territory or experience, the roots of progress. And so I find it interesting. He started out as a child actor, and he gained national attention by playing Opie Taylor in the Andy Griffith Show. And then he became a household name by playing Ricky Cunningham in the sitcom Happy Days. And then now he is directing and producing and writing film and television series. So you can see that it's keep moving to greener pastures to conquer the next territory and experience as he's moved through his professional life, starting as a kid and where he is today. So I thought that was quite fascinating. I don't know if there's anything, Anna or Linda or Shelley, that you would like to add there.
Just real quickly, as he embodied that family in these different, the Andy Griffith Show, Richie Cunningham, in Happy Days. One was a sort of mixed family in terms of a generational, there were 3 core people in that little family. But then in the Happy Days, it was more of the family at school or kin, friends as a group. But I just think he sort of embodied the basic theme that we're talking through these roles.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Anything else around the 37 before we continue forward in taking a look at what to pay attention to this upcoming week in taking a look at doubts? Nope. All right. So let's jump into next week's theme. And next week is all about doubt. So the future is dependent upon establishing with certainty the validity of a pattern. So one of the things that we're taking a look at, this is logical inspiration. So doubt is really important. The fuel to question is what the 63 is all about. It's a pressure, it's the fuel to question. And doubt is an essential inspiration. This is also what's known as after completion. It's the spiral of life. All ends are also beginnings. And so the mind will doubt what it's seen until it can reconcile any inconsistencies or weaknesses in the logic or the pattern. So one of the things with doubt is we are taking a look at, what's inconsistent? What's not aligned? Where are weaknesses in the patterns that we see? And this is logical. So it's also preparing us for the future, moving forward into the future. So doubt and suspicion are important aspects of that logical process to make sure that we can move successfully into the future. So it's about finding the reliable patterns that can move us into the future, and doubt should be directed out into the world versus doubting yourself, which can lead to a lot of mental anxiety and a lot of mental pressure. One of the things about the mind, right? And we take a look at both conceptualization and inspiration as part of the mind. The mind is not there to make decisions. And if you get caught up on individual doubt, doubting yourself and trying to figure out your own life, that's not what the mind is is best at. That's not what it's used for. It's really about following your decision-making strategy, is really more following your body intelligence versus your mind intelligence. Your mind intelligence and doubt is really more about questioning what's out in the world versus questioning yourself. And again, in using and directing it outward towards the world versus inward towards yourself, that can remove a lot of the mental anxiety that can be there if you're turning it inward. And again, remember, the mind is not the place to make decisions. So I would love to hear from Linda and Anna and Shelley. What is your experience with the 63 of doubt? And I don't remember who has, if any of you have this particular trait.
I don't have it, but my son does. He has the 63 and the 61. So once we learned about this, I started to recognize and hear his shadow speaking all the time in doubting himself. So it's really great to just even understand the correct usage of these traits in the mind, and that they're there to really look at the patterns in the world, which he also does. He spends a lot of time, I don't know, that doesn't sound right to me. He's suspicious about a lot of things. So he questions everything, doesn't just follow what everybody else is doing. He's constantly questioning most of the things that are going on and pondering them and looking for the patterns to see if they make sense or not. So I've watched that come out in him in his life, and more so recently understanding about it a bit.
Yeah. Great example, Shelley. Thank you. How about for you, Linda?
Well, I don't have trait 63 as well. My whole inspiration is just empty. It's just one blank area. But that does mean that I can sense the doubts of other people. And what I really notice is that lots of people that have this trait or have this defined in their design, they are doubting themselves. And that's really a pitfall. It really is not suited for that. You can really make yourself crazy because it's logic. There's always a reason underneath. Why, and then why, and why, and why, and then. But what I also was contemplating about is that with logic, it's never satisfied. And that's a good thing. And that's, of course, there are also always two sides at the same coin. But I feel like, because you beautifully started this BG5 Live with the month of March and what is going on, and we need doubt to doubt what's going on. And that's also what you already are seeing what's happening. Just to give you one example, we find it perfectly normal for about 2 years ago to go to your work and to be in a traffic jam, day in, day out. Because the background frequency is changing and we now are forced to also work from home. We are doubting things that before seemed really logic. So that brings up the point that some things can be really logic, can be really like, okay, A is B, is C is D, but it's not always the truth. So it's really important to doubt the logic patterns. And I feel like because we are making a shift to a new era, that we are going to doubt the logic things that we have created for ourselves. Why are we going to war? Why is there poverty? I can just imagine, because some things we maybe, we don't even ask ourselves. Of course, in some respects we do, but it's also a kind of a part of the collective, the way we have organized our society and our world. So it's essential. It's essential to say, hey, what's really going on, and is it that logic?
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel that it's because we are moving towards, and we are now facing trait 63 for the upcoming week. I feel like maybe we will be doubting more than ever the validity of the patterns that we always have found logic and
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah, really good point, Linda. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Debbie is saying I have 63 conscious in her driving force, and she's constantly questioning. And all ends are beginnings. I appreciate that perspective. And with the pandemic, we had to learn to care for ourselves. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that, Debbie. How about for you, Anna or Shelley?
I have the 4, which is the other side. And I know early on, I used to personally doubt myself, and you can spin around and around and around in that world. And early on in my career, I gravitated to sensory development, and that led me into believing my body. And I think that's one thing that happens when in doubt, is that you can spin around in your mind a lot and question things and question yourself. And when you begin to direct it to the world, as this says, you question the values Linda was just talking about, the protocols, the things we take for granted. But then when it really comes to decision-making strategy, when you're using your own decision-making strategy, you don't have to doubt. You can trust your body. You can trust what your body is telling you. It's just sometimes there's a gap. People don't know how to believe themselves, don't know the value of really listening to your body, even though your mind might be chattering away. That's a big leap for a lot of people until they understand their decision-making strategy. Then doubt becomes something you can use rather than get all spun around into. And in those bigger questions that Linda was asked, pondering, especially this week, to not just ask why is there war, but why am I blaming one side or another? Why am I believing the media? Why am I believing all this chatter? What is it that I need to doubt? And it's a process of sort of sorting out, because we all know, I think, is when you hear something that your body goes, oh yeah, and when it goes, wait a minute, this is weird, that's bogus, whatever. We're in a period of time where we need to challenge our assumptions, question our assumptions, but it's really important not to get all spun into that. We need to ground into our bodies to help us manage this doubt, this questioning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you, Anna. And we'll hear from Shelley here in just a moment. What I'd like to do is we're going to talk about sort of what in a moment we'll wrap everything up, and I would love to hear from each of you kind of what to pay attention to this week, just taking a look at time. So once again, hold on one second. So again, if you are new to BG5 and you're wondering, Brad, do I have the 37? Do I have the 63? You can download a free chart from the BG5 Business Institute website, and you can follow along with our BG5 lives. Also, you can get on the mailing list to get the trait of the day, and you can watch past episodes both in our free resource library as well as on YouTube. And again, classes are starting in May, so we invite you to check out our classes and courses, and would love to have you join us. So let's wrap everything up, and I would like to hear from each of you, and we'll start with Shelley. And what I would love to hear is, what should we pay attention to this week? Both taking a look at where we are today and taking a look at family and friendships, and also moving forward in this next week in taking a look at doubt and what to pay attention to as we sense or experience that doubt. So would you like to start us off, Shelley?
Well, give it a go. Yeah, it's really interesting, the piece about doubt, just kind of paying attention to what doubts do you have? What things are you questioning? Are they about yourself, or are they about what's going on in the world? And I think this is a really great opportunity this upcoming week to really start to question what's going on, and will it lead us into the future safely, and so that we can continue on. That's the big one that keeps coming up for me. And I think also just with what's going on with world events, it can feel like we're a little bit helpless, being afar, feeling like we can't really do anything about it. But I think just even understanding what's going on and knowing what the background frequencies are, and that there is a bigger thing, much bigger than all of us, setting this environment up for these things to play out. And that's kind of what I hold on to, is to just observe and follow my decision-making strategy on what I'm an emotional classic builder. So what feels right for me to engage in or not. And the questioning piece is not to make yourself crazy about it, or feel like there should be something you can do about it, but to use that doubt to be able to really look at what are the things in life that I want to question, that I want to do something about, or that I want to change even in my own life. Those are some things that come to mind. I'm much better after you guys have spoken. I feed off of you guys, but there, we'll start with that, see what else comes up.
Yeah, no, beautifully said, Shelley. Really beautifully said. Yeah, and how about for you, Anna?
Well, Shelley, I thought you did beautifully there. That makes sense. I would say to witness your doubt. Don't try to fix it. Don't try to get an answer. Don't try to do anything with it. Doubt is more of a pondering process than a self-critical. I mean, of course, we can criticize the book we just wrote, or the job we just did. I mean, we can go back and review and say how we change it or want to change it or whatever. But I would suggest witnessing how you're going about doubt. Are you personalizing it, criticizing yourself? Are you gently saying, well, is this true? How is this true? There's a way of going about doubt that can be useful. But again, like everybody said, it's not to make decisions through this doubt, or from this doubt, or from the questions of doubt. Your decisions, you really want to be rooted in your decision-making strategy.
Yeah, beautifully said, Anna. Thank you so much. And Linda?
Yeah, beautifully shared already. I feel like you have to be aware of an heightened mental pressure and that you know it's the background frequency. Also, you can notice when you have inspiration undefined that there will be more doubt in your life because you are picking up the doubts of others. So it's really important to be aware of what you are picking up and if the doubts are yours or from someone else. So awareness is really key this week. But I also would like to invite you to have beautiful discussions with people because it's collective, it's sharing. Share your doubts because that's inspirational for others. And then you can, that's what I love doing. You can learn from other perspectives, you can learn from other people and to maybe gain a complete new perspective on what's going on. And you can become really wise about things or maybe get inspired in doing other things than you usually do. So awareness is key in combination with your decision-making strategy, because I feel, and that's just the time we are in, so I'm going to say it once again, is that it's all about your own inner knowing and your own inner truth. That is what we are heading towards. So do not doubt yourself, but doubt things that we all as a collective have found logical, and have a beautiful discussion with family and friends, because we are just having just a little bit of that flavor as well, to see also what is the purpose of of life, of bonding, of connecting, and are we bonding and connecting in a way that benefits us all? So maybe those things to ponder.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And Sarah was saying, I went to church for the first time in years and years, so upset about the Ukraine and the suffering due to the cowardly bully into power. So scared and so sad for those that are there, and the serious response we in democratic countries will need to consider such doubt about what free people will do. And again, an expression of a lot of that doubt that that we'll start to face, and again, taking a look at what are the things that are working or not working, doubting what's true and what's not true, doubting what we're going to do or what we're not going to do. Yeah, exactly. Thank you for sharing that, Sarah. And I don't know, Shelley, if there's anything that you want to add after going through it. And it's funny because you were also expressing doubt as well. So I think you were a good illustration of that also.
That's the funny thing that I recognized after I said it. It's like, oh, here we go. Here's an example. I think that was everything you guys said was wonderful, great. And I think it's just, again, being aware. It's all about awareness and just recognizing what's going on, and that there will be a lot of doubt this week, and it's okay. It's not to get wrapped up or upset by it, or too much in your head about it. So allow it to be there, allow it to flow through, and stay tuned into your body and your decision making to know what's best to do.
Exactly. And I think it's really, really going to be key, especially this month. Again, I don't know what's going to happen, but just taking a look at the weather report, who knows what can happen. So it's really important that we all stay grounded, all tune into who we are. And as our panel has talked about as well, really paying attention and having that awareness, so that, we can act in the appropriate way, that we can see things in the appropriate way, that we can do things in the appropriate way as well, right? And not make the decisions from the doubts, but again, just question and allow those doubts to be there, allow that pressure to be there, without necessarily having to take action, but trusting our decision-making strategy to know if there is a time that we do need to take action. Yeah, beautiful. Well, thank you to each and every one of you. Great to have you all here. And we look forward to seeing you all next week. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye-bye.